Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CAYACast. With me today, we have Lorcan,
Yes.
Brad, and Kong, aka
Keanan.
Keanan, aka
Properly.
Keanan.
And on today's
He's got a
episode,
name.
we speak about DJing.
We speak about how COVID impacted the events industry.
We talked about some of the problems with the events industry in Cape Town and how we can solve them and take it to a new level.
And
Me.
There we go. Bang on. It's a great episode. You should definitely keep
Thank you.
listening.
enjoy.
Follow, like, subscribe. You know the drill. Thank
Enjoy.
you very much. Enjoy
He's
the
a
episode.
DJ, by the way.
Yeah.
We didn't say that.
I feel like it could have been implied. Like I feel like the detail.
First, we'll start. How are you, Keanan?
I'm good. I'm
Nice.
well.
That's-
I'm excited to
It's
be
good to hear.
here.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you
This
for
is a
having
safe
me.
space. If you're not
Yeah.
feeling that good, you're also welcome to talk
You can
about
say
it.
that.
I'll
Because
just-
emotions are real. But if you are good, wonderful.
I'll just drink the pain away.
One thing that I did want to ask you straight off the bat is about subculture.
Okay.
Because for at the I think beginning of the year it was a thing, but I didn't really
Yeah, yeah.
understand what was going on,
Yeah.
which is subculture popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
So what is subculture?
I mean, I think initially, we also kind of went into it blind. Like it was a combination of sort of myself coming from an event and a DJ sort of space and background. And then Glass coming from Vehement Youth, where they used to do sort of like fashion photography for events and things like that. And then he jumped into the marketing space. So the idea was sort of, we'll get these groups together, these marketing groups, and sort of like I'll set up the events and he pushes them. And then eventually subcultures started promoting for other events and stuff like that as well. So now that essentially like subculture is like, outside of the events, it's a marketing company.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sick. So it just organically grew into
It really did. Like, I mean, we sat down just after COVID and we were like, how instead of starting up a brand that's gonna now compete with everyone, how do we jump in and sort of, aid and get everyone back to a point where, the scene's like, fully functional again.
Recuperating what the scene was before it kind of went to
Exactly.
shit.
Exactly. And then I mean also just like instead of competing with everyone, like
Bring
being
them
involved
together.
with
Yeah,
everyone.
that is true.
So-
There we go.
That's one thing I love about podcasts is you can have a wide variety of guests on, but everyone seems to be operating under similar guises. Like
Yeah.
we need more togetherness, we need more collaboration,
Yeah.
we need more integration, as opposed to like, oh, I like that person's idea, I'm going to go and try and do it better.
Yeah.
And sort of like steal the spotlight or steal their audience.
No.
Like just combine. If you
Exactly.
combine, you grow.
It just feels like there's a lot of like pride in the creative industry at the moment.
Too much.
Like,
Oh.
but on two sides. On the one hand, there's like too much like ego and individual pride, but a lot of the like overwhelmingly more of the conversations we've been having recently, I feel, have been more like we actually all back like what's happening in the Cape
Yeah.
Town creative scene, and everyone's just a bit like, listen, why isn't everyone else not wised up to how like cool the shit that's happening down here is?
Mm.
And I think that's what I've loved about doing the podcast. And
Yeah.
it's, it's still in its early days, but like we've got to talk with and like let people who are doing really cool shit explain more about what they're doing, because
and why they're doing it.
like
Yeah.
I've also like seen stuff from subculture, but you don't really understand like how it came into being. And I
Yeah.
think that's so important, and the kind of it's the storytelling that's missing, and that's what makes people really want to engage.
I mean, we
with
kind of
the space.
we kind of realized that down the line as well, that like we never really gave anyone context.
Yeah, for those who don't know,
I
give
think
us a
we were
bit
doing
more.
like 3-4 events a month maybe in the beginning, and that's a lot.
That's
That is a lot.
insane.
Like,
That's
that
almost an
is-
event a week.
And we realized very quickly as well that that's a
What-
bit
what
too
really-
much. Like,
Yeah.
we were just
What
thank you
really
much.
caught my
Yeah,
eye was that
losing-
subculture Tuesdays-ish.
Oh man,
Ish.
Subculture.
it ruins a lot of weeks.
Brad has definitely seen me on a
Gonna
couple
lie.
Wednesdays after that.
You play it off remarkably well. You come into work and you're like, yeah, no, I was out last night. I'm like,
No, there was one. I don't know if we're allowed to share the story.
It takes practice, bro.
We'll talk about
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, as we get further down the story,
we can maybe share on that.
Another thing I wanted to touch on is, so what I realized with DJs, like,
Yeah.
so you go and you watch this DJ play and you see them like behind the stage, and like you really you form some sort of like connection with this DJ, right?
Like you lock eyes kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yo, that little second of eye contact.
Know what you mean? Like there's some DJs you like, some DJs you don't,
Okay.
right? But then it's a different story when you actually get to meet them and get to know them.
Yeah, on like a personal level, it removes that, and I think you've sort of like you've described it perfectly there. It removes that kind of like barrier of like the DJ's up there playing and you're down here, because you need to respect that barrier because they're the one who's up there playing and you're the one who's down here. But then meeting them on a personal level adds just like so many more layers to who they are as a person, and kind of like helps you sort of enjoy what they do more in a sense.
So yeah, exactly. But what I wanted to ask was DJing in clubs versus, let's say, festivals.
Yeah.
Number one, which one do you prefer, and when does it start feeling like a job than actually something that you like enjoy?
Like which feels more jobby, like DJing in clubs or DJing at a festival? Which feels more?
I mean, I think just because of the frequency of it, like, I mean, how frequently we play in clubs, you know, that sort of feels like, I mean, now, especially in the winter months, I mean, we in and out of clubs. I'm in a club maybe like 2-3 times a week at least. So yeah, after like the second or third gig in the week, then, you know, you drained mentally. You I don't know. It's hard to give it everything, and I mean, I think that's also like something I for myself need to acknowledge. Like playing as much as I do, like the I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the passion is lost, but like I say, mentally it's taxing, it's draining.
It becomes more routine almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I try to do something different with every set because I mean, I know I play a lot, and I know I mean, it's not that good to do, but with every set, I'll try and plan something different. I'll try and play different. I'll try and fit it to the room, to the environment. So back to that, do I prefer the club or the festival space? It's a tough one to answer because it's made up of the crowd, the atmosphere, the environment. So like, I mean, for me, to be quite honest, like I love a small room. I love like a small room, just a nice little compact, intimate, just warm, you know? But then, I mean, if festivals, the crowd is always amazing. The crowd is always hyped. They're there to jaw. And that in itself is like, my God.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone's come for the same reason. Like,
exactly.
you've paid a lot of money, you've traveled, you've done all this, you've done your outfit, and so you're there to party.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I wanted to ask, and I want to hear your story from sort of club and from festival. What is like, I don't want to say your worst experience, because that can be so many different sort of like variables. But what's your, to keep it specific, and we can move on to different areas, but what's your worst sort of like crowd interaction, DJing at a club and DJing at a festival? Like someone like drunkly comes up and requests a song and spills a beer on your decks or something like that. What's your sort of like...
my new favorite thing now is people passing me vapes. It used to be cigarettes and tequila, which are greatly appreciated, but now it's vapes.
Here's my ass pass.
Which flavor?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, they make compete.
You've got a fan.
It's like, no, try this one, cuz.
Opens their jacket. You want some vapes?
Dude, okay, so like, I mean, now what, I've been doing this for what, like maybe about between 8 to 10 years.
Jeepers. Okay.
I don't know. I can't necessarily put my finger on a worst experience. Worst experience.
Like a bad experience.
A bad experience.
Doesn't have to be the worst.
A funny story.
Yeah, a funny story.
Oh God. Okay. So I mean, as you know, sometimes these festivals result in sleepless nights.
Yeah.
You know, because we love to dance all the way through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got to enjoy every last second.
You know.
Yeah, there's music on till the morning.
Yeah,
for a reason.
You might as well enjoy it.
I mean, I won't mention the festival because I do frequent there and I've played there quite a bit now. But it was the Friday and the Saturday, and my set I think was like sunrise or 8 o'clock on the Sunday morning. And my silly ass decided I'm going to, you know, push it through from the Friday all the way through to the Sunday.
Oh, I think I know.
I think you know. I think you know.
Yeah,
I think you
yeah, I think I know.
Return the mic.
I thought so.
And dude, I for the last couple of hours just before the set, I thought, you know, let me go lay down in the car, let me go chill, let me get some shut eye or whatever. Obviously the music's on all around you. I'm sitting there in this car. The car is hot as hell. I'm sweating and I'm starting to get into my own head. I'm like, this set is going to suck.
Yeah.
And like at the minute you get into your own head and the minute it's so hard to bounce back from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, got up on stage, sun's down, fucking shining. I am sweating and not feeling healthy. There's about like maybe 10 or 12 people on the floor all huddled in this little bit of shade. I can't see the CDJs and just like the sun. It was just one thing after the other. And I just had a mare of a set, dude. I think I got off and I literally just ran back to the car and hid. And I was like, take me home, take me home, take me home. And I mean, like, when you, dude, like, we love this shit. Like, we do this, like, daily. And so a moment like that, even though it wasn't like a big fuck up in front of, like, hundreds of people, like, I mean, I didn't do my job.
Yeah.
I didn't
Personally,
do
that
my
was the one where you
that
felt,
for me,
yeah.
that's sad. And like, I mean, it was my own stupidity, it was my own recklessness that got me there. And like, I mean, I couldn't do the best that I could do. And when that happens, dude, for me, it stays. I go and I own it and I sulk about it, and all my friends will fucking cut me out about it, and my girlfriend especially, because she knows, like, for the next couple of days, I'm sitting there at home, I'm like, fucking idiot.
I know that one. I know that one.
Yeah.
Got to be tough on yourself to keep yourself disciplined though, to an extent.
So what do you do when you go like play games? What do you do in your spare time?
Yeah, as a DJ, what do you do in your spare time?
I am I don't know. I struggle to focus sometimes. I mean, I really do, dude. I'll come home. I'll pop on FIFA. I mean, I don't. You guys are. Do you guys smoke weed? Do you guys weed?
Oh yeah.
Constitutional rights. Here we are.
I mean, maybe.
I'll come home, light up a spliff. I'll play all of 3 minutes of a game of fucking FIFA, and then start scrolling through Netflix or something. If not that, then I'm sitting and I'm listening to music for a good couple of hours. You know, everything except the genres I most commonly play.
Yeah.
So I listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of like weird classical, contemporary style shit, whatever actually pops up.
Do you make music?
I do.
Can we find this music, or is it private?
You see, you also make music, not do I make good music? And I'm willing to release just yet.
I make sounds.
I do. I make doof daft thingies. Like, I mean, I've been writing for a while. I studied sound engineering and stuff like that. So I think since then it's always been like an on and off thing. I really do wanna get serious about it and start focusing on it a lot more. Because I mean, I think yeah, you can DJ till you blue in the first few, but until you actually release something of your own, you know, like I think you'll hit like a cap. You can only go so far.
You can only DJ so many songs.
Yeah, exactly. So inevitably, it is something that
is on the cards.
It's on the cards.
Good to hear.
Where did you study sound engineering?
So I studied at City Varsity.
Okay.
I mean, I might give away my age, but back when they were still on Clove Street, that's where we started. Done a year there, and then they moved to Ruland, and that's where I finished off.
And I mean, this is so my background actually has nothing to do with media. Is in also like in the event space, but basically in live sound. Like I started doing it in like primary school.
Started in live sound in primary school.
Yeah, like on a very basic level, but then like really loved it.
Like
and
for
then my
assembly or
high
something.
school, like that kind of shit. But like we did the plays,
like
we did
visual crews,
So started doing that, and then in my high school, like I went to Westerford, and they never hired anyone, like external guys. So there was a sound team, there was a lighting team, there was like a film crew, there was a photography, like all students, but and they give you good budget, but you must then deliver on like a professional level. Is the expectation.
That's
and so a
wild,
lot
actually.
of us, like a lot of the senior guys, would also work like on weekends or occasionally, like as like roadies, like nothing hectic, but.
Would this then like be seen as like an extramural activity? With this count as like a
it was like it was one of the like clubs and societies at the school, and everyone was encouraged. But we like took a lot of pride in operating on quite a high level. And, you know, I was considering whether I wanted to go study sound engineering and then, you know, whether it would be worthwhile. It then obviously decided that it wasn't worth studying. Mostly I think for me, just because like I knew the first year or year and a half would just be stuff that I knew how to do.
Exactly.
And yes, there would be value in it, but would I last that year and a half? But did you get into sound engineering from DJing, or how did that like relationship work?
Did one feed into the other? Did they go the other
I mean,
way?
I think like they did. The interest was always there for sound. I think so. DJing, that I started in high school, I suppose. I mean, not too seriously. Obviously, I think it more sort of popped off a couple years after high school. But I took that early gap year, you know, that one to decide what it is and where I'm going with my life and all of that.
Find yourself.
So I mean, like I got into sound engineering thinking I'm going to be learning music production, mainly sitting making beats all day. That was my idea.
That was what you were thinking.
And like, I mean, when I sat there with my class, I realized I was like, all of y'all here for the same like reason. None of us really thought we were going to jump into post or live or do anything like that. So actually, we were sitting there during orientation, and our lecturer said to us, like, straight off the bat, like, look here, if you're here to make beats, there's the door. I was like,
off the class, dropping in the wrong class.
Like, I do explain this to my parents now. So stuck it up. But so I mean, music was the driving force behind that decision.
Okay.
So
and now, like you mentioned, you do that now.
Yeah, I do.
And what are you doing? More recording engineering, more live?
Yeah, like I mean, I was freelancing, jumping around, doing post and Foley work for a bunch of studios, and I settled at a place now where we do like a lot of dubbing work.
Okay.
So like it's pretty simple. It's pretty sort of repetitive work, but like I mean, it's something consistent. It pays. It's close to home. It's fun. It's hardly stressful, and I mean, especially now trying to balance. Like, I mean, I'd love to jump back into post, but like as a career, it's insanely time consuming, and you can't really plan much because, like, I mean, you on now the client schedule and things like that. So if they need you to jump at 10 o'clock at night, you got to jump. But like, I mean, if I have a gig, I know. Hey, I did sleep. It was that one time. Wasn't that one time? There were more times.
On that sort of like expanding you sort of what you're doing and keeping your options open and sort of like walking down many avenues, what are some of your sort of like short-term and even long-term goals as
short-term and long-term goals?
Sound person, I suppose.
As a sound person,
apart from making music, of course.
Yeah. Well, for now, to be quite honest, there isn't a specific destination. You know, we kind of just going with the flow at the moment. But now we've sort of learned how to I think I'm conducting it a bit better. There's this direction, not necessarily a destination.
It's not the worst thing in the world to sort of just keep it very open-minded and sort of work towards something in a general sense, as opposed to like, this is what I have to become and this is what I have to accomplish, because
you're setting yourself up for
you're setting yourself up for
potential
a treacherous road, shall we say. Not necessarily just failure, but sticking to one goal or sticking to one direction can be, as I said, quite treacherous, because you never know until you do know, and for the most part, you never will know. If that makes any sense.
Exactly.
As someone who's been in the events industry, I mean, as a DJ, but also from an events perspective, obviously, you know, the events industry was decimated by COVID and got no support.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed since kind of pre-COVID to post-COVID, although it's still ticking around apparently?
Yeah.
You know, how do you think it's changed, and do you think overall it's changed for the better or for the worse?
Okay. Well, the ball is definitely rolling again. You know,
Thank
like
the
I mean,
Lord for that.
Jeez.
I mean, like events are popping off. There's so many. It's actually insane. I mean, a lot more brands have sort of popped up after COVID. Like, I mean, we weren't supposed to, but you know, the little the little house parties.
Yeah,
soiree,
little private, socially
I mean,
distanced.
I think those little get-togethers and things like that. I think it was kind of great because now we've seen a lot more brands pop up. There are a lot more little groups of people throwing their own events. Bringing forward new sounds, things that they are interested in, which is cool. Like, I mean, it's expansion essentially. Like, I mean, the scene is not just this anymore. Now you've got a bunch of different, and obviously we skipped a couple of years, so now we've got the kids that were 16, 17. Now they're up and out, and dude, the amount of DJs that there are now.
Yeah. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry's DJ.
Yeah, man, but then also, like, I mean, bedroom producers, they sat during COVID. The people learned to write music during COVID. So, as detrimental as it was for the scene, I think this little boom, this little explosion, has happened because of it as well. So, like, positives and negatives.
Yeah.
I think a good sort of thing that came of COVID was, and this is sort of applied to many industries, but with the events industry in particular, making it impossible made it possible for a lot more people, if that makes sense. Like having that full shutdown, like there can be no events, no one is doing anything. And those are already working in events had the time to sort of think about how they were going about it. And then the people that weren't yet in it, but maybe had like a bit of an interest, but had the time to be like, okay, this is how I could go about it. And then also sort of realizing, oh, it's actually, like, I don't want to downplay organizing and hosting an event, because it is a very, very difficult thing. There's a lot of variables and tangibles that you have to manage. Yeah, but it isn't impossible, and it isn't like you have to be a certain someone or a certain something to host an event. You can just host an event. It might be shit. it might be shit, but you can do that, and that applies to everything, like photography, music. I've gone completely blank, but it applies to multiple industries, not just events. What were some of the sort of like lessons that you learned during the big lockdown? Like adjustments. It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be just like,
oh man, so much. Like, I mean, I don't know when last before that you were able to just sit at home without responsibilities, having to look at your phone, having to, you could just be there.
That was a big one for you. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. There's nothing to miss out. There's nothing to miss out on.
Exactly. That was also great. Like, I didn't need to be anywhere. You didn't need to. You were there.
I literally did not. For 3 months, the furthest I walked were the shops down the road from where we were living, which was like a 3-minute walk. For 3 months, that's the furthest.
But we were also only allowed out for like a small like increment like during the day. That's what
I was doing this recently. I was reading back on some of the because I saw an Instagram post or like a tweet with some of the like regulations we had in place, and I was looking at them like, wait, what the fuck? What are we doing?
It was ridiculous. Like, we had there was the old people shopping time.
Yeah, there was
they could only shop like at a certain point during the day.
Mix young people and
exactly.
People.
Afterwards, like, they fucked. You go and come back to the shop. Stay there.
Too old.
You'll get trampled in this stampede of people.
Like, another good thing that came out of that was that Checkers 60/60.
Checkers
60/60. Checkers 60/60. Innovation that excites.
Yeah.
Apparently,
that
UCT
get
student.
that sponsorship.
Yo, imagine we had and we could just order shit, and that was the
lunch.
That was the sponsorship. We just order food.
We'll abuse.
Hey, if you're watching this,
now you know that's all it takes.
Clip this.
Just a good 60/60 trip every time.
But yeah, man, lockdown as well, dude. Like, I mean, I think for everyone, you got a lot of time to sort of think about where you want to go and what you want to do. And like, before Subculture, I wasn't necessarily in in the event space. Like, I wasn't throwing events or hosting events. So for me, during lockdown, I was like, you know what? Fuck, I've been doing this for like 6, 7, 8, however long.
Long time.
And let me give this a bash. Like let me sort of push my sound and what I'm trying to get out there. And I had an idea for it, and during the lockdown, I sat there and you jot down your little ideas and stuff like that, and none of it was fucking implemented, but we did set this thing up and start.
You at least wrote it down.
Yeah. No, I still got the book.
And sometimes, just the act of writing it down, even though you don't necessarily implement that thing, like follows through
You're
and feeds
subconsciously
through, and
implementing it because it's there.
It's a step. It's a step. It's a step. So I mean, as soon as we could, I met up with Glass during the lockdown.
Just
during
my
class,
My
during our
class.
permitted hours, of course.
Yeah.
He wanted to do something similar, and we spoke. A couple of beers, you know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Get the juices flowing.
Get the juices flowing, the kakpraat, you know. And then as soon as we could get people in a room together again, I mean, we sat down and we're like, okay, let's just fucking do it. And that's when we started throwing the parties at movie on first Thursday. And that was really cool, man, because I was like, that room was tiny. And I know it was wrong, and I do. But we packed that place out, and Ux used to sweat through
For
it.
the culture.
Yeah, for the
culture.
Yeah, it was risky, but people came through. People really wanted it. You could just see like people were there, and they danced all fucking night, man. It was so good to see again.
Yeah.
After
lockdown, some of those events that happened were like definitely some of the
Yeah.
best that I have ever been to, because you could literally you could see in every single person's face that I'm talking events organizers, the lighting people, the DJ, the people dancing. You could see in everyone's face that they were just so happy to be back in that space and to have that freedom to move, to dance, to laugh, and just to sort of escape from, especially after you've spent fucking however many months locked up in your house.
Exactly, man.
Magical.
I think
having flashbacks.
the first festival I went to after lockdown was actually my first multiple day festival.
Okay.
Wow.
It was end of 2020. Yes, I think.
Yeah.
It was Rumors by the Lake. I think
Okay,
it was. I think it was
yeah.
probably one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
So
This
you
is
know,
the one with the big TP.
yeah, where where VIP normally is, like on the elevated.
Yeah.
Oh no, where the TP,
Yeah,
where the chill
but
area is.
the cricket with the
No, where the last
okay,
where the last main stage was.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
It was there, but it was
Okay.
on the opposite side
Hmm.
with a little hut. And then,
So
and then Cody
it was
played.
there, but it was on the opposite.
Yeah, the
side.
stage was on the opposite
Okay, I
side.
see.
Facing the opposite,
I don't know if you played at that one.
I think I did.
Cody played the sunrise set.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first festival I ever went to, and the first festival after
Yeah.
COVID. That I think,
Jeez.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a string of them actually.
Because everyone was raring to go, just give me the fucking
man.
freedom.
I think also just the social interaction, people just wanting to be around people.
Yeah.
Who are
just
not
wanna
your family
see
members
other
or roommates.
motherfuckers, dude.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I mean
Love my
there's
family,
just and the thing with
you locked in with
the
fam, man.
capacity
Oh, good
events and
stuff.
stuff. It's just there's even where there's restricted capacity on
Yeah.
an event, there's nothing. I'm a rock live. That's my shit.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than a sweaty mosh pit. There is no better feeling in life than head banging and just bumping into people and just having a time. There's
Also, you know that interaction isn't going to lead to someone being hey, what the fuck are you doing, man? Because it's a mosh pit.
It's wild, actually, how that
Yeah.
happens, dude. And you bump
Everyone's
someone
we're
with
all
a
in a
shoulder.
fight.
and
We're
we're
all in a
fight,
yeah.
and it's consensual.
It's love.
Exactly. Consent. It's
It's-
love. Everyone's
love.
having a good
It's
time.
love.
Sure.
Yeah, if you look at someone wrong in a club,
You see, that shit.
Yeah.
That's wild, eh?
What do you think are the biggest issues at the moment in the Cape Town clubbing and party scene?
Good question.
Good question.
And I asked that from a perspective of we need to talk about it so that we can fix it and make the industry better.
and also, any opinion is a safe opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't say that there's there's things wrong with it. I think the problems that exist here within the scene are probably very similar to the problems that exist abroad. I mean, what?
Not an easy question. I apologize.
I think one of the biggest things for me personally is sort of the support. And the way the events are supported. I mean, cover charges and things like that are there for a reason, so that next time the production can get a bit better, so that we can bring a DJ down that you might want to see, so that we can pay our local acts more, so that, the scene itself can grow.
Circulation.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you come through, you support an event, you pay your cash at the door, and that essentially goes to, improving that event for the next time so that we could give you something bigger and better. And I mean, I think now, I would like to see the scale of productions go up, but that can only happen with,
you can't have one without,
So, I mean, that for me, look, we'll work on it, we'll get there, as things grow. And
I think it's because too many people fucking ask for guest lists.
Oh man. Look, like, I mean, it's a bit of a catch-22 because, like, the concept, I mean, also like having bodies through the door, having a full venue, it also contributes to the experience. But yeah, now it's just being, I suppose, abused a bit.
My theology is if you're contributing to something, you're justified in getting guest list. If you're just there to just be there and you just don't feel like shelling out 50 rand, 100 rand, 150 rand, however much it is, if you just don't feel like it, then that's a bit counterproductive. But for instance, in my case, I'll often, especially if it's someone who I know who's organizing the event, like a friend, I'll say like, look, I'll come through, I'll shoot some photos, edit them, give them through to you in exchange for guest lists for my girlfriend.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a
big
exchange. That's different. That's like value exchange.
Exactly.
As opposed to
value exchange. But if you're just like,
hey, I want to be at your
party. Me and my entire friend group get guest lists because we just want to be there.
And the thing is with it, like, the thing is with that angle is it's just like, it's just disrespectful to everyone who's put in work to make a dope event.
It's coming out of their pockets.
Because it's saying,
you're stealing money.
It's saying, no, but it's also saying like, I want to be at your event, but not enough for me to justify actually paying any money for what I'm going to get out of it. And
especially if it's like a 50 rand door price. Because that's like the bare minimum.
150
and then
rand.
Like pisses me off. They'll get guest lists and then they'll spend like 700 rand at the bar. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why can't you just not have an extra 2 drinks?
And if you're not aware, that normally doesn't go to the events organizers. That goes to the club's bar, or it goes to covering the bar. So
I mean, think about it. It's like it might be a bit weird because we usually operate with a guest list kind of thing as a subculture, but the only thing we ask for is sort of that you reshare the content, maybe like once or twice. And then, I mean, through that, we reach a broader span of people. And that's sort of the idea there. So, like, I mean,
see that, that's still, that's an exchange. But I just feel like people who are just like, just put me on there.
You're like,
it's a simple thing as well. Because, I mean, like, we want our mates to be there.
Exactly.
We really do. And I mean, if the mates can't afford it, that's okay. Just give us a shit, bro.
And through, it's one of those things. There's so much nuance to it. Like that, you can't be like, don't ask for guest lists. That's just, it's too simple.
Don't ask for guest lists.
But it's like, it's more like, think about the industry who, like, the events industry has been categorically the most just left in the trenches through COVID. 300 million was supposed to go towards entertainment and events, all disappeared. Gone in a hole.
The phantom cash.
Yeah, the phantom 300 million.
The injections.
And it was the only industry that it was the most limited industry in terms of restarting. Obviously, like, it makes sense to a degree, but like, that's an industry that deserves your support, and people who have been, really trying through COVID to survive and like, and lots of people were on their arse, like, instantly. And for you to, like, obviously, if you can't afford it and it's something you really want to be at, that's a different story. But like, if you can, contribute, because as you said, it makes the events better, but it's also like an industry that has had the worst 3 years.
It needs your contribution, and you'll feel better about yourself. And about the event. Like, okay, obviously there's the worry that, I might not like the event, or I'm going to something else and I just want to pop in and say hi and I don't want to pay.
I mean,
get over yourself. Also, Jared raised a good point. It's the people that are like, hey, can I get guest lists for my entire friend group? And then each spend like 700 on the bar. Because that's not, I can't afford to get in. That's just, I'd rather not pay because I'm not sure about your event. Like, if you want to go to something, pay the price or give a value exchange. But one other thing I want to say that sort of goes on what you were saying is, obviously the events industry has been left in a bit of a shitty state, and COVID and the lack of support have really sort of not crippled it, but sort of like taken it down to the ground, but that also is, and I'm seeing it, and it will take time, but it's becoming a very valuable thing because it's now putting the impetus on the people who are involved in the events industry. It's not like there's an outside source that's pumping money into the industry and we're just kind of like growing from it. It's being built by the very hands that are living it, basically, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I hope that it can continue.
Every crisis breeds innovation. And like, it was a crisis for the events industry because all of a sudden
there was
nothing
money
and no idea when you were going to be able to reopen. And yeah, like I've got friends and people I've worked with in, various festivals, whatever. And it's just like, they also couldn't even start planning 6 months or a year in advance because they had no idea. And some of these festivals take 6 months to a year or longer to plan. And it's like, if you can't do that, and they were operating under the guise of, on the one hand, we might be like this for 5 years. We don't know. On the other hand, they could drop the regulations tomorrow, but we still won't have a financially supportive job for a year because we've got to like plan this shit.
Oh, we can have more than 10 people in a space and you don't have to wear masks, but like what now?
But what was good about it, and it was what you were saying earlier, is like there's so many, I think that what I've noticed now is that there's so many like small parties that cater to very more like
niche.
There's more specific niches that get catered to, and those parties are growing as well. And so now there's so much more variety for you as someone who enjoys music. There's like, within your taste, there'll be like 5 different events that cater to different parts of what you like. And that's
different spaces,
that's
different organizers, different DJs, new ideas, new looks. It's all.
And I'm a big fan of a small room. It's just
like intimate. Intimacy is key.
So Keanan played at Ghost about a month ago at
the Human Collective.
Yes.
Yes, I was shooting.
It's done now, eh?
What, the venue?
Ghost. It's done.
Yeah. What?
Rest in
Can
peace.
we talk about
an official rest in peace?
Fuck Rawson.
Oh, it's not yet?
Yeah, fuck Rawson. Can we have a 10 second silence? 10 seconds
yeah,
silence.
no, actually, we're gonna have a moment of silence for Ghost.
Ghost.
Pour one out for all.
Did we just Ghost pour out for Ghost?
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, seriously.
That venue, that space, I'm so sad that was the first and now probably the last time I will experience this place.
Definitely lost, unfortunately.
It blew my mind.
Yeah. Ghost was.
It was.
We're gonna have a little moment for a tribute to Ghost.
Yeah, this is gonna be now
Ghost
the Ghost
was
section.
one of. It was the most culturally influential space I've ever been in.
Yeah,
and open and welcoming and creative.
Shout out Greg.
Free.
Shout out
to Greg. You're a fucking hero.
Abdul, Zolani, all the boys.
Jeremy, all the homies, like
everyone that was involved in making it what it was. Really,
it was the most
wholehearted
special space, and
going there after work for a beer.
Literally going there for meetings, going there just to let off some steam, going there to work, going there to party, going there to photograph. The space was everything that you could want it to be. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was like exclusive. Yeah. It was private. It was,
but not exclusive in any like, you're a part of this group. You can't be here.
If you knew, you were in.
If you knew and wanted to bring the right kind of energy to the space, like that was what it was. And fucking capitalist property developers came in and like stuffed over the most significant,
the sacred space, the most sacred space in Cape Town.
Like,
damn,
just an injustice of note. Anyways, that was a bit of a downer, but we had to see it. We had to talk about it. We had to talk about it.
Season's approaching now, and I mean, more spaces like that are definitely needed.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think that, in a sense, Ghost falling is it's definitely not a good thing. But it will be an inspiring thing because I think a lot of people will now be like, "Oh shit!" It's a tricky thing to pull off, but it isn't impossible because it's been done. Greg did it, and the whole Ghost team and the other radio. Let's now all as a community work towards creating more spaces like that where it really does do its best to cater to everyone, and it's not like it's like that. That's one thing I remember Greg always saying, and like I would overhear him talking to other people, and I remember him explaining it to me. But Ghost isn't anything. Like it isn't a club. It isn't a space. It isn't this. It isn't that. It is whatever you
use
interpret
it
it
for,
to be in whatever you need it to be, essentially, which is fuck.
A room for requirements.
I'm getting emotional.
It was really a room of requirements.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Shout out.
Shout out Harry
dude.
Potter.
No, but it was. That's bang on. That's the best analogy I've heard for Ghost. It was a room of requirements.
It was a room of requirements.
Shut up when you needed a space.
Yeah.
And it is now a ghost.
And it is now truly
Profound, cuz Jesus.
One.
we were emotionally invested.
That wasn't a bit. That was from the fucking heart.
That was deep. I felt that too.
Man.
Yes, Jared. Sorry, we cut you off.
Playing in like Joburg and different provinces. I wanna hear more about those experiences. Like,
So that was my first time actually playing in another city. Believe it or not.
When was this?
So this was last weekend. I went up on Saturday and flew back the Tuesday, which was completely unplanned.
As you do.
As it goes. I've now learned this about Joburg. It is
It'll keep you.
It'll hold you.
oh really?
It'll hold you.
Did you go to the infamous spot?
We did.
Okay.
What is that?
But in you know like what their clubbing district,
Yeah, they
the sort of
just the
Anns,
club.
the Carfaxes, we went to go check it out. By the time we got there, they had already closed, though, unfortunately. So I never got to experience and or Carfax in all its glory. But we ended up at this, I don't know, I think it was called the Third Place.
Beautiful irony.
And I mean, the place opened at like 5 a.m, which blew my fucking mind. I was like,
You said opened.
It opened.
The two of you in chorus.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that. Anyways.
Huh? I get it now. The Third Place is probably the third place. And it opens at 5. That's so
Everyone goes
clever.
after there.
Dude, it's
And they're
insane.
like, oh, now what?
Now what? It was breakfast.
But I mean, like, being in front of a new crowd, playing, and I was like, the set was received really well. I mean, a lot of people took to it. I got to play. I followed Avi. Avi Saban.
Yeah.
What a ledge. He played such an amazing set. Had me sweating a bit. I'm not gonna lie. And obviously, he's like one of the home faves. Like it was such a great experience. It gave me a different sort of confidence. Like, I mean, I was always sort of intimidated to travel and do this. I didn't know if I would be received like anywhere else other than Cape Town, because it's like all I know.
Yeah.
But now I've got a little spring in my step,
Yeah,
and I think
it's
I'm
good,
sort of
bro.
willing to. So I mean, we've booked a couple more dates.
Nice.
Maybe gonna try and get over to Joburg or PE. Yeah, there's quite a banging scene out there.
Yeah,
and then
what's it? Chalso,
yeah, man.
Fabri.
And then maybe travel a
Fabri.
bit with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the experience all in all was much needed.
What
It
would
really
you
was.
What would you say from playing one gig? Did you only play?
Yeah, I only played one.
Okay, so playing
I didn't
one
want to
gig.
bite off more than I could chew.
Fair enough. What would you say is just from that experience? And it doesn't have to be too deep. It doesn't have to be too much. But what is the biggest difference playing in Joburg and playing in Cape Town in a club?
In a club? Well, I don't know. There, dude, like, not to say anything about.
Say it out.
I
Is.
can't
Say it how
say it
it
out
is.
is, 'cause
We're at the point in the podcast
Look,
where you can
there's-
say what you want.
Yeah, no one's
because
listening now.
No one's listening now. Everyone's either.
Dude, look, the crowds there, they come out, they plant themselves on the floor, and they are there. Like, they stay. They dance, they are singing, they are chanting, they are just interlocked with you.
Mhm.
You are on the same page all the way through. It's not like if you drop a shit song, they walk off. They're like, they're there for
For
They're
the,
there.
for the ride,
exactly.
the experience.
Sorry, not a shit song, a song that they don't like.
They're not gonna go,
Yeah, or like, I mean, and they open to a lot more. Like, it's not just, hey, we to just listen to one
Banger
specific
after
sound
banger,
or bang
yeah.
after banger. They're there for the trip, man. And it's
It's a good
And
answer.
boy, do they trip.
For the trip.
How much time do we have
I
left?
think we've got on my timer. We have 2 minutes left.
Oh shit!
Okay.
You guys
Well,
need
then
to do the
we
intro
should-
and stuff.
Yeah, we do
I think
need
that
to
yeah, I
start
think
the
that that's a
intro
good
now.
point
Yeah.
to wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you have any closing thoughts, please.
Let's do more of this.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think just to everyone, like platforms like this, I think like it's really needed. Like the scene in Cape Town is it's almost disjointed in a sense. Like there's a lot of things happening all over, and it would be nice like with platforms like this to sort of tie it in,
Yeah.
bring it together. You know, meeting new people, meeting fresh faces, and like I mean, I think a lot more will come from that.
No, of course.
So big ups to you guys for doing this.
Thank you.
Oh.
Muchas gracias.
We're much stronger in community and
Exactly.
collaborating. and We're all in the same boat anyways.
Exactly.
On that note, what a fantastic way
Woo.
to end the episode. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you guys.
coming on.
Thank
It
you for
was an
having me.
absolute pleasure. Thanks, Jared. Thanks, Lorcan.
Thank you, Brad.
for watching.
Thank
If
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
If you haven't, you have to go and like and subscribe to the episode because just do it.
Follow Kong on all his
Follow
socials.
Kong on all his socials.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Sweet.